Okay, what I'd like to do is move to item 7.2, again with the understanding that we do have a time certain with our guests, so we'll need to interrupt that if they do arrive and or if it takes longer than 15 minutes. Vice Chancellor Perry.
Thank you and good morning. I do have a handout that everyone should be following along with, so while that's coming around, I'll put on my tech hat and state that I hope that you've noticed that we now have these nice new automated cameras attached to the ceiling here or attached to the walls that eventually will replace the humans at Palomar who have been doing them for so many years. So ultimately the goal is that folks down at Palomar at our 3C Media Center will operate those remotely from their site. We're going to be running them in parallel here for a few meetings. Also new lighting, yes, that is correct.
Someone noticed.
So, you know, readjust and rearrange your seating according to your good side here. But yeah, ultimately this will save us quite a bit of money and make it fully automated, so that's a good thing. So I'm here today to talk about our update to most recent enrollment and course offerings. The most recent data we have is actually fall of 2010, where we collect data at the end of the term. So there's always a lag. Fall 2010 data we get fully mature by approximately March or April. We will have full year 2010-11 data approximately September or October, and at that time I'll come back and do a full year's summary. And I also understand you want some more info on degradation of the system, so we can certainly do that as well. So starting off, I'm going to start just with Table 1. The last three entries here on 2010 spring, summer, fall are the latest data that we have since I was here last, and you can see we were still peaking around fall of 2009. These are term-based head counts. They're not our annual unduplicated head count, but term-based head counts. We were running right around 1.8 million students. And then the last three terms, spring 2010, summer, and fall 2010, we finally hit the dramatic drop that we all kind of were expecting to see. We were cutting courses quite a bit. Spring 2010 showed a decline of 3.6%. Fall 2010 was a decline of 2.8%. Summer 2010, almost 30% drop in student headcount compared to the prior terms. So enrollment management at a community college is tough and an inexact science. Whereas at K-12, you know who's coming and you have to take them, and whereas at CSU and UC, you have this admissions gate that you can control how many people are coming in at any given time. In our system, everyone who applies is admitted, and we really control access to our system based upon our course offerings. Or to probably make a bad analogy, it's kind of like Disneyland. They let everyone in, but on certain days you may have to wait 2 hours to get a ride. Okay, that's us. Table 2. Looking at now the subpopulations of who are in our system compared to prior terms, and also I went back 5 years, 5 falls, so you can see the trend line. Beginning in fall 2009 is when we actually changed how we collect students self-identifying their race and ethnicity. That was according to the new federal laws and rules. So fall 2009 was kind of a strange term. Fall 2010, we're starting to see students acclimate to the new questions and how we collect this. The underlying trends here are Hispanic and Latino students showing the greatest increase of all of the subpopulations. That's for 2 reasons. One, it is the underlying demographic trend of the state. And secondly, it is because the new counting methodology of the way we collect this data, Hispanic and Latino students have a trumping factor. It's a 2-question format. If a student answers that they are Hispanic or Latino, regardless of what they put on the second question, they're counted as Hispanic and Latino. So we knew that number was going to go up. The other good thing on here is the percentage of unknown and declined to state, fortunately, is starting to go down. We were starting to get very high numbers in that one term where we changed our collection methodology. It was almost 15%. That was rather concerning. Now that more new students in the system are answering the new questions, it's beginning to decline, so that's good. Student gender is showing a steady increase in the percentage of students that are male. That's an underlying trend here. Not exactly sure why that is, but there was a time when we were almost 60-40 female, and that has slowly reversed over time. Table 4 shows student age. In our demographics, we continue to actually get younger and serve a younger population. Almost 3/4 of our students are in the 18 to 34 group. The actual 18 to 24 group continues to increase. And the areas where we are losing students as a percentage of the overall are the under 18 groups, which are primarily special admits, K-12 students, and also older students 35 and over, of which some portion are the recreational or lifelong learners, but some portion are the returnees, students who are coming back looking for a workforce. So we're losing them on the tails as far as age group goes. Table 5 shows student self-declared goal. This is what the student checks as they come into our system on their application. More students are selecting that they are degree seeking upon entry. Fewer students are selecting non-degree seeking. More students are selecting that they're undecided. Table 6. So when we get into some of the more interesting machinations of enrollment management and what's going on here. So we've all heard Jack talk on numerous occasions about how we're losing first-timers. That trend continues to go on. If you look at the historical time series on first-time student or first-time transfer in, we were rolling along about 25, 26% of our students up to fall of '08, and then suddenly a precipitous drop after that, where only about 3% of our students were first-timers. To put an actual number on that, in fall 2008, there were about 310,000 first-timers in fall. In fall 2010, there were about 275,000 first-timers. So that's down about 35,000 normal, and that's 2 years. So there's 70,000 first-timers lost just in fall over the last 2 years. Unfortunately, the people who have the misfortune of getting out of high school at this period of time have a real hard time getting into our system. This does not count all the students that applied, were admitted, and then attempted to get a class and basically came away with nothing. That piece is not measured here. So these are the only, this is really just the survivors of that. On the opposite end of that are students who are already in the system, known as continuing students, and you can see that time series has gone off the charts. So there's a lot more continuing students inside the system. Those are the students with the enrollment priority. They get first shot at classes. And they're also having a hard time getting out. You know, CSU and UC are bottlenecked. And as a result, I mean, that number between fall 09 and fall 10, which went from 49.5 to 56.4, that's just an astronomical jump. Students who are in are taking up all the classes. They can't get out. They're not going anywhere. This causes fewer seats for first-timers, and the whole problem is just kind of exacerbated. Special admits are going down. Returning students who are students that were at a college, stopped out, and then are coming back again are about the same. This is a bit foreboding because first-time students eventually become continuing students. So when continuing students eventually make their way outside of the system, you don't have a big group of first-timers to take their place, and eventually what happens is you have a period of time when you attempt to grow, you try and get a massive first-time freshman class. It doesn't really happen like that, and you eventually have to try and claim FTES in other ways. That's when the course offerings begin getting varied and more diverse. You get into more non-credit, you get into more recreational. Not saying that's bad or good, it just is. Get to a point in time where you have to generate FTES in some way, and so you add more courses. Table 7 looks at the actual number of course sections offered and the enrollments that were generated from them. You can see the big drop in summer. Summer is the term in our system when colleges really do most of their enrollment management. They kind of balance the books with summer. Also, fiscally, summer is a term where you can either add it to your current fiscal year or your future fiscal year. So it's where you really balance your books. Summer was down about 30%. Fall was down only about 5%. But between those two terms, we have now 20,000 fewer course sections offered in the California community colleges. Average course section is still at an all-time high, right around 31. Do I need to stop?
No.
Okay. As we've seen in prior years, it really takes two cuts to try and get a drop in headcount in FTES. Your first cut, students jam themselves into all the remaining classes. FTES continues to go up. It takes a second cut to actually start seeing cuts in FTES and enrollments. Table 8 shows where we cut as far as what types of courses. So we dropped 4.1% in the number of course sections offered. Non-credit sections, we dropped 19%. So that was one of the areas that we heavily cut. We dropped more non-transferable sections than we did transferable sections. For the first time, we saw this time around we dropped more basic skills sections than non-basic skills sections. That had not been the trend on that one. Voc Ed and non-Voc Ed were about the same. We're dropping more evening sections than we are day sections, and there's only still one area in the entire curriculum that we are still growing amidst all of these cuts, and that is in distance ed. So an absolute growth in distance ed over time. Table 9 shows FTES. So a cut of course sections of 4.1% leads to a cut in FTES of about 1.1%. Not a huge drop in FTES. Of that 1.1% in FTES, we barely cut credit, only maybe about 0.5%. Non-credit accounts for most of that, about 12%. Table 10 shows you generally what curricular areas are producing more or less FTES. Table 10A is our top 10 FTES producing curricular areas. Math is still number 1 and going up. English is number 2, still going up. General studies, PE took a huge drop, psych all going down. Some of the other areas actually show that STEM fields are going up. So math, biology, and chemistry actually going up in FTES. Table 10B shows which areas got cut the most as a proportion of their total FTES. What you have here is basically a combination of some lifelong and recreational FTES going down, some market-driven vocational programs being cut, and also some high-cost vocational programs being cut. And then Table 11 shows our FTES per head count, or basically how many FTE each individual student produces, and that one is going up as well. So students are generally taking more units, accumulating more FTES per, even though head count is going down. Table 12 is really the only outcomes data I'm going to show you here. And it's granular. It's at the course level, course retention and success. Retention is whether the enrollment is retained till the end of term with any type of grade. Basically, the student did not withdraw or drop. And that number is going up. In this particular period of time, students are retaining till end of term at a higher rate. Student success means they got a grade of A, B, C, or credit as an outcome in that course. And this one actually is going quite a bit up over the past 2 terms. As we do more supply constriction, course success rate has gone up almost 2 full percentage points, which is quite a jump over the past 2 years. So that's the quick look at what's gone on since we last talked. I'll come back with you with a full year annual report, which we get into a lot more robust set of metrics and also other outcome metrics, degrees and certificates and transfers and things like that. But that's the update on what's occurred in fall. Questions?
I'm actually going to ask members if we could hold our questions, and Vice Chancellor, I'll ask you to come back up. I appreciate that report very much.